Yo, what's up, guys? Recently, we had a guest that asked us what the deal was with these solar panels. Well, today I'm going to answer that question for him. Stay tuned. So, this little contraption is what the solar panels outside are for. They plug into this Bluetti EB240. This is a solar generator. Some people call it a power bank. Has a couple of names, but it's a solar generator. It collects power from the sun. You can charge it from the wall with the AC adapter. You can charge it with the car plug. It charges a couple of different ways. But for us, it has definitely been a lifesaver because our power goes out quite frequently here in Puerto Rico. We have been using this thing quite a bit since we moved here into the house. Before we lived in the house, we lived in a condo. So living in the condo was a little bit different than this house situation that we're in now, because the condo that we lived in was partially powered by a diesel generator, and it powered the hallway and the elevator, and each unit was allowed to plug in one plug into the hallway to bring it to their apartment and power their refrigerator. Well, last January of 2020, the island was hit with a 6.4 magnitude earthquake that knocked out power to the entire island. And we were without power in the metro area for a little over a week. Now, the southern part of the island, other parts of the island were without power for literally months. And for us, we quickly learned what were our absolute necessities and what weren't, because we only had one plug that we could plug into. Now, although it was supposed to just be for the refrigerator, we did plug in a fan because it got really hot in the apartment. We plugged in our phones so that they would stay charged, and at night we would plug in a light. So those were the things that we were able to, that we knew we had to have, and we survived that whole week with those things. Now, since we moved out of the condo, having backup power has become our responsibility, and that's where the Bluetti came in. I looked at some YouTube videos and started researching all the various companies that sold them and who would actually deliver to Puerto Rico. So that kind of narrowed things for us quite a bit, because Jackery, EcoFlow, those guys do not deliver to Puerto Rico, but Bluetti did. Amazon does not deliver any of them to Puerto Rico except for Bluetti. So whoever the manufacturer delivers to is who Amazon will deliver to. So I was able to get the EB240. I originally ordered the AC200P because it had a higher inverter. It had a higher powered inverter. It had a 2,000 watt inverter, and it had 2,000 watt hours. Now this EB240 is only a 1,000 watt inverter, but it does have 2,400 watt hours, which means you could run something that was 100 watts for 24 hours. Now, it doesn't actually use all 2,400 watts. I think it has a usable little over, almost 2,100 of the watts are actually usable watts. So that means, you could run something for 100 watts for 20 hours, which is not bad, okay? So that was the thing that really got us, was that we could run our refrigerator for maybe 12 hours. And I'm going to show you how you can figure out how much watt hours you need when you're ordering one of these solar power generators, because that's really important. For us, we were just trying to get the biggest one we had, because we knew we had to have the refrigerator, the fan going, the phones charged. Those are just the minimum things that you will need. And so those things do consume a lot more power than you think. over the long haul. We've been using this Bluetti practically daily now because the power has been shut off here at 4-hour clips. The power company, there's no natural disaster going on right now in Puerto Rico. They're just shutting the power off, I don't know, to conserve energy or what. It's been extremely hot here, so I'm sure power consumption is through the roof. And the company here is cutting off the power for 4 hours at a time. The other day, the power was off, went off at 8, came back on at noon. It stayed on until about 6 o'clock, and then they cut it off again at 6, and it came back on around 10. I think yesterday it was off. It went off around 1 o'clock, and then it came back on around 6. Stayed on until about 10, and then they shut it off at 10 and it came on at midnight. So it's just been all over the place. But we have definitely had to use this Bluetti to power our refrigerator and keep the fan going and keep our phones charged because we don't know what's going on. But that's just been the pattern recently here, is that the power goes off about in 4-hour clips. There hasn't been a hurricane or anything going on here. It's beautiful here. But the power company is shutting the power down. They're doing these rolling blackouts all over the island. So we're having to be prepared, and we're very fortunate to have this Bluetti because we've been able to keep our food from going bad, and we've been able to stay cool. Have the fan on. Of course, we're able to go outside and sit on our patio. We're fortunate with that. But if you don't have some type of backup situation here in Puerto Rico, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to keep your food from going bad because it's so hot here. This refrigerator will, start sweating. It sweats when it's plugged in because there's so much heat and humidity here. So this appliance has to really work hard to stay cold, to stay frozen. So having a backup system is definitely important. Now I'm going to show you if you're in the market for looking to buy one of these power banks, what you need to know about the power consumption. Now for us, we have the EB240, which has, like I said, 2,400 watt hours of power, and so it can last us, roughly 12 hours for what we want with just using the refrigerator. Now, if we hook up a fan to it, that's going to shorten the amount of time that we can have things powered. So it's very important that you guys know how much power you're actually going to need, and I'm going to show you what we have to do that, and what I had to get so I would know the minimum amount of energy that I would need. Okay, so this is an electricity power energy usage meter. There are other usage meters. A kilowatt is what it's commonly called. You can find these on Amazon. I got this one because the kilowatts were all sold out at the time, and so this was the next best thing. It's cheaper, and it does the same thing. All I wanted to know was how many watts my fan used, my refrigerator, and other things like a coffee maker in the event that I wanted a cup of coffee or something. But it works the same. It also will tell you how much the energy is costing you. And I know for us on the island, we pay 3 times as much as you guys do on the mainland. So energy is extremely expensive here. So they're probably doing us a favor in some regards by cutting off the power, because that does save us 8 hours of usage a day, but it is still a major inconvenience. So we're going to plug up a couple of things and see how much energy they use, how much wattage they use, and that should help give you an idea as to what size solar generator you would need if you were in the market for one. Let's plug up a couple of things and see. Okay, the first thing we're going to measure are the wattage that these 2 fans use. Now, these are the 2 fans that we have, and they do not use the same amount of power. So during the power outage, I'm going to show you which one that we used. Okay, so the way that you use these guys, you plug them up. You see here, it plugs into the wall. So I have an extension cord. I'm going to plug it into that. And then it comes up. You can see that. All right, so it's not measuring anything because nothing's plugged into it. Now, I'm going to plug in the first fan, which is the larger fan, and let's get a wattage reading from that one. Now, I have the fan on low, and it's reading 79 watts. You can see that? That's the number of watts it's using, 78, 79 watts. Okay? Now let's turn it up. Let's turn it up a notch. Now on medium, it's using 88.4 watts. You see that? 88.2, 87, so basically 88 watts on medium. Now we have it on high, and it jumped all the way up to 101 watts. Okay, so this fan uses way more power than I would want to use if I had a situation where our power was down for any amount of time, because that's quite a bit of power to be using, especially, and we haven't even hooked up the refrigerator yet. So that's a lot of power. That surprised me when I originally tested this, how much power this used. All right, let's try our second fan, the smaller one. Okay, we're getting ready to hook up our smaller fan. And we have it on low. And as you see, the smaller fan uses 40 watts, 40.6. It's 40 watts. Okay, that's a lot more manageable. So it's about half the power of this larger fan. And let's turn it up, see what we get. You see on medium, 43.1. So 3 more watts, not bad. I can work with this. Just put it on high. And on high, it's reading 52.4. So this fan essentially uses half the power of the larger fan. So you see, this is the fan that we use. This is whenever the power goes out, this is the fan that we plug up because it uses half the power of this fan. This fan would drain our Bluetti much faster than this one does, especially in concert with the refrigerator. All right? So next we're going to hook up the refrigerator and show you how much power it uses. All right, gang, we are going to hook up the refrigerator. I actually cut it off for a few minutes, and I'm going to plug it in, and we'll see what kind of reading we get from the refrigerator. Okay, that beep means that it's receiving power. I can hear it just getting cranked up. Right now it's not reading anything. I don't know if you can see that. Doesn't have anything that it's pulling right now. Now this is interesting. When I go through, it's saying that it's pulling 100 volts. 131.9 volts. Now when I switch it to watts, it's not reading any wattage, which is interesting. No amps, 60 hertz of energy. I don't know if you can see that. That's hertz. It has a 3680 overload, but it is actually reading 0 watts right now. So that's interesting that this does not read watts. So I'm gonna hook it up to the Bluetti and we'll see how much energy it's pulling from the Bluetti. Okay, so I have plugged it into the Bluetti. Let's see. The Bluetti is fully charged, as you can see here. And we cut on the AC. Okay, the refrigerator just came on and it's not pulling anything. That's interesting. I guess because it's morning and it's been on all night. Okay, here we go. So it's pulling 110 watts. And this is interesting because I've got some other video that I'm going to plug into this video that I shot during the power outage, and the numbers on this refrigerator were all over the place. Just to show you, if you don't have any, I didn't have anything else to do, so I was sitting there watching and seeing how much power this refrigerator was pulling, and it went up to all types of numbers, and I mean some astronomical numbers that I could not believe. And I will show that video in this video that I took, because some of these appliances you're going to see, their numbers fluctuate. The refrigerator was definitely a surprise, and I'm going to show that to you. But as you can see right now, it's been on, it's morning. I did unplug it for a little bit and had the doors open, but obviously it didn't get warm enough to really show you what it was doing the other day, and I will plug that video in so you guys can see. Y'all see that? My refrigerator just kicked on using 548 watts. What the hell? I don't know what that is. That must be the freezer must have kicked on, but that is unbelievable. I'm gonna have to check out, see what's going on. That's crazy. I guess now the freezer has gone off and it's only pulling 47, 48, 42 watts. But for a minute there, it pulled that 500 and something watts for about a good 5-10 minutes. So yeah, I think the freezer must have kicked on, and it hadn't been on obviously throughout the whole time. And this is the lowest reading that the refrigerator has had in the 2.5 hours now that the power has been off. Now, what about AC? Now this is a little portable window unit that we have. Let's see how much power this bad boy uses. All right, we're gonna cut this on and see how much power this AC unit. It's already pulling half a watt just plugging it in. Wow. So this AC unit is pulling 708 watts, 704, it's over 700 watts. So you would definitely need to have a much larger capacity solar generator to have this going for any period of time. If you had the AC 200P with 2,000 watt hours, you could probably run this for maybe 3 hours, and that would be it. You know, if someone in your family needed to have air, you could give them 3 hours of relief, and that may be all they need. So, but for us, this would not work with the EB240. It's too much. It will not run this because it only has a 1,000 watt inverter. I plugged it in once, and it didn't do much. Actually, I'll show you now what it would do. 700 watts. So it powered it up, and you see it's using 700 just like it was using. You can hear the fan is on. So it will run this air conditioner, but there's no way I would use it. You know, it's cool and everything. You know, it's working like it normally does, but I would not waste the EB240 on this air conditioner. Although it will run it, but that would be a serious waste of power. And neither one of us in this house needs to have the air conditioner on during the power outage. But it will run it. 706 watts, just like it was reading on the watt meter. All right. So let's see how much. Next, we're going to check out how much power it takes to brew a cup of coffee. All right, let's check out how much power our coffee maker is using. Got my coffee in there, my water. Ooh, okay, I don't know if y'all can see that. Right away, it jumped up to 1,000 watts. So the coffee is just now finishing up brewing. Let's see if the number goes down at all. Okay, you can see the numbers went down to 0 watts. It just finished brewing and it's all the way down to 0. So you could brew yourself a cup of coffee with the Bluetti, and it would use like 1,000 watts or so to get it going, but then it would shut off. So you would have no problem with brewing yourself a cup of coffee with the EB240. Now with the smaller unit, you know, it depends on what wattage capacity it has. You know, if you had one that was 1,000 watts, you could brew yourself a cup of coffee with it without a problem. All right, we're going to wrap up this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you guys got something out of it and learned how to use this little guy. It's really important that you know how much wattage your appliances are using before going out purchasing one of these solar generators or any kind of generator for that matter. Just knowing how much power you will need to power the things that will be essential during a power outage. So good luck, and we appreciate you watching us here on She Den Zen. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.